Bases dropped on a Friday edition of Soccer Down Here. It's a freestyle Friday. Anything can happen, like us reverting to old school TBS time. It happens. Welcome to Friday. 5 minutes after the hour, it's what we do. You can go see what's going on at 9 o'clock and then come find us at 9:05 and stick with us. Lots of stuff to get into. We've got FA Cup games that are in question. We've got FA Cup games that are going to continue. We've got situations in La Liga with snow on the ground affecting matches. We've got testing results in the EFL, which they finally actually tested for the first time. So, yes, there's a lot of positives. This is not necessarily a shock, but maybe the number is a little bit of a shock. We've got a Copa Sudamericana game that did not get played last night, and a team is stuck in a hotel in Chile while they are awaiting what the CONMEBOL is going to let them do. All kinds of things. Moises Caicedo updates. There is a credible report out of Ecuador that he has accepted, or the club has accepted, a transfer offer, and we're not sure exactly who it is. That report says it's West Ham, and we'll see if that one is the case or not. Lots of stuff. We'll get into your questions and your comments as well. So you can tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. You can also join us on the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/Soccer Down Here. You can email us soccerdownhere@gmail.com. And welcome to Friday. John, where do you want to start?
Let's start with Caicedo and Defensa y Justicia.
Well, those are two completely separate things.
Because those were the topics, I guess, overnight that still were looking for answers, and so that's why I grouped them together.
We're just lumping South America all into one, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the Defensa y Justicia thing with Copa Sudamericana. So this whole thing was weird because you had 3 players test positive for Defensa y Justicia when they arrived. I think it might have been even after they arrived in Chile, ahead of the match with Coquimbo Unido. The game had also been moved to Santiago, and I don't know the whole story behind that. That had happened previously, and I didn't know about it. Coquimbo Unido is based in a city that's 285 miles north of Santiago. They moved the game to Santiago, and then they canceled it at the last minute. Now, Coquimbo Unido actually went out on the field like they were warming up for the game. They're trying to claim the points. There was some confusion at one point that the Chilean health authorities had actually canceled the game, and they came out and said that is not true. CONMEBOL canceled the game, the governing body for South American soccer. Local health authorities did confirm that 3 players of the visiting delegation tested positive. The Chilean authorities said that the 56 members of the team's delegation, that's, I guess, the whole staff that went, had close contact with the infected players. They should all remain isolated at their hotel. Hernan Castillo of TNT Sports tweeted this morning that the team is still in Chile. They're not allowed to leave the hotel. They have not been informed if a plane is coming to get them, to bring them back to Buenos Aires. The match has been rescheduled for Tuesday in Asunción, Paraguay, which makes total sense. Let's send them to another country and put them on another plane. I don't know. And Defensa y Justicia is stuck in a hotel in Chile, and they don't really know anything at this point. Hernan Castillo tweeted that just a few minutes ago. So I don't know. I mean, something has went completely wrong with this situation. It's 3 positives. We've had the conversation many times about the risk to another team. It's incredibly low. The risk is more within the team itself. If all of them had legitimate close contact, then that's a problem. That seems a little unlikely because we haven't seen the situation with any other team, really. So I don't know. I don't know the details here. I don't know if this is a bit of confusion and back and forth between the health authorities in Chile, between CONMEBOL, between the team from Argentina. I don't know. We'll keep you posted as more comes out because it should be coming out this morning as we're starting to hear reports about what's going on the ground in Chile. I don't know how they play on Tuesday in Asunción. I mean, it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense if they stopped this game because of close contacts. The close contact situation doesn't go away a few days later. So, I mean, are you just stopping it to test more? Everybody, I believe, had been tested multiple times before they went and when they arrived. So I don't know all the details. We'll see what we can do to find out more. On Caicedo, the latest is Jorge Pazmiño, who is with Radio Redonda Guayaquil 99.3 FM. And he's legit, according to our Ecuadorian correspondent El Mataflo. West Ham have made an official offer for Caicedo. Independiente del Valle would retain a 30% sell-on percentage, which is large. That would make me think that the offer is on the lower side. We'll have to find out. There are other reports, and this is where it gets really hard to follow out of Ecuador, and then you get stuff coming out of England and fan accounts that follow Manchester United or Everton or whoever else, and they're getting stuff that's either old or it's secondhand or it's not legit, and it's incredibly confusing. This has been one of the more confusing transfer sagas that I've seen. There are reports that Independiente del Valle, separate from Pazmiño, have reached a deal with a club, and it is not Manchester United. Don't know if that's following up from this. Don't know if it's separate. Don't know if it's separate information. Don't know if it's legit. We don't know yet. There's also a report, as Mataflo said, and kind of waiting to see what this could be, is that Milan has jumped into the mix on Moises Caicedo, and they are interested. I have just seen they are interested, and they are following it closely. I haven't seen anything beyond that. Brighton's name have come up. Walchara, then this is where you got to understand how this stuff goes. Walchara says Atlanta United may have wasted time here. They didn't waste any time. They're not sitting there at a table waiting for an answer, not doing anything else. You scout a player, you identify a player, you put in a bid, you have conversations as they come up. You're not putting everything else on hold. That's not how the transfer system works. They didn't waste time. Being in the mix is a good thing, period. The fact that they were mentioned with it, even if it was incorrect. And like I said, Roger Gonzalez is not a 100% batter here when it comes to transfer rumors. He's not. He's right sometimes, he's wrong sometimes. He's not one that I see something and I immediately say, yes, this is how it's going to be. He's dead on. That's not how I follow his reports. So he reported it. Others followed up. There was an MLS offer. We know that much because the club's president said so. The club's sporting director said so. But we don't know who it was. Atlanta would make a lot of sense. But it's not going to keep them from doing anything else. Don't even get that idea in your head. That's just not how a club works. There's not one person doing these things with Atlanta United. They do have a staff. They do have people who get things done for them. It has not hurt anything with Atlanta United. Don't even go down that road, please. It's not Inter Miami. Walchara, por favor, mi amigo. No, that's not the situation. And Inter Miami didn't do that either. Inter Miami missed on a whole bunch of things. Inter Miami shot for the moon on a bunch of things that didn't get deals done, and then they didn't have backup plans. They didn't do what they were doing because it sounds like they had one person running the show in Paul McDonough because he was trying to sell the front of the shirt sponsor and get deals done, and I don't know what else was going on there. Atlanta's not built that way. Please don't start that impression. Don't start that narrative. I know that I drive people crazy, and I know I drive John crazy. I know I drive Nick and Jarrett crazy about it too. I am very, very strict in how I try to follow this stuff and make sure that narratives don't get started unfairly or incorrectly because it's very important. This was a player that was linked to Atlanta United by a less than reputable source. Period. That's it. So that's all we know. Did they put in an offer? It would make sense to. I would, because he's an amazing player at a young age. Does that mean they're going to get him? Nope. It doesn't, because he's an amazing player at a young age. And if Milan, if Manchester United, and it doesn't sound like they've made an offer, if Everton, if Brighton, if West Ham, if every other club you want to mention has put in offers or whatever, then they're going to pick the best offer and you move on. That's all. It's all good. It happens. It's all good. Don't worry. This is how the big boys play. This is how things go. It's okay. It's okay. Sorry, Walchard, I'm not trying to pick on you. I don't want a narrative to get started that here we go, it's Miami. They've screwed everything up. Now the whole offseason's messed up. No. And that's not what happened last year either, so don't even get any ideas.
Since you mentioned Defensa y Justicia this morning, we were talking before the show briefly, and Steve Bruce came out this morning with Newcastle, and he said that he believes it's morally wrong to carry on playing as cases rise.
Now, Steve Bruce has had two players who have had long-term issues with this, and they're not to say that doesn't happen, but it hasn't happened often. So he's going to have a very specific opinion on it. I don't know. Look, I don't have an answer to that because these clubs as businesses would probably not survive another long shutdown. The smaller ones will have a big problem surviving any kind of a shutdown. The bigger ones can survive it, but what do they look like on the other side? The thing that is hard about this is when restaurants have tried to stay open and find ways to do things, they have not been accused of being morally wrong. Have they? If they have, I've missed it.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
Retail, any other businesses that have tried to stay open and do their jobs during this, I think morally wrong is very harsh. And if that's where he's at, why is he still doing it? You know, like it's difficult, and I understand the emotions for him. I mean, he's got a couple players who have had serious long-term issues with this, and that's going to give him a different impression of all of it than I have, than you have, than most managers have. I think it's harsh. I do understand where he's coming from because of his situation, but I do think it's harsh. I don't know what the best course of action is right now. South America is different. I have not heard of any issues with the new strain that transfers faster, that is more contagious. I haven't heard of any of that being in South America yet. It very likely is, because I don't know, how it wouldn't be if it is this transmissible. We know it's here in this country. We know it's in the UK. We've had the biggest problem with it. We know other countries in Europe have tried to limit it to the UK, but that's probably impossible. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the logistics from a soccer perspective, yes, get very difficult if you have another shutdown. That shouldn't drive the conversation. It is a reality that they're there, but that shouldn't drive a discussion here. Can you do what you're doing safely? And you're seeing an uptick in positives. In the Premier League, you saw 40 and 2,200 or so tests in the last round, which was an uptick. That was about a double round of testing. It was a slight uptick, but very slight, and it's still a very low percentage. EFL had never done testing before on a regular basis, and what were their numbers?
112 positives involving 3,507 players and staff from 66 EFL clubs.
How does that compare rate-wise to what the Premier League had with 40 and 2,200?
Oh, let's see.
It's more. So, I know it's a higher rate.
Yeah, it was like 4,000, and they had it was 40 positives with about 2,000 tests.
2,200.
20. Okay, so 40 and 2,200. So get out the calculators here and see what we're looking at. So 40 and 2,200, a percentage of 18 1,000ths of 1%, and 66 into 3,507 is 19 1,000ths of 1%.
Okay.
So it's basically the same rate of positive.
Okay. And I don't know where that compares to the general population. I would think that it's less from people who are being tested, but that's not everybody. So I don't know if the act of playing soccer, the act of being part of a team, is increasing the risk for these players. If it was, then that's a huge issue. I don't believe that it is. That's why I do push back a little bit on what Steve Bruce is saying. I completely understand where he's coming from. He's dealing with this from an emotional level that we are not, because he has players that he has coached who have had the long-term issues with this. But are they at more risk doing what they're doing? And it doesn't seem that way, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, so here's what Bruce said in quotes. He goes, "We've seen firsthand how it affects people. We've had 2 players who were very, very sick, 1 or 2 members of staff, one in particular nearly hospitalized, and no one envisaged that this new wave was going to be as powerful as it is. Financially, it's right to play on, but for me, it's morally wrong. I understand people want to play a game of football, but we are just as vulnerable as everyone else," he continues. "Let's be fair. When we are in football, we are socializing. We may be taking all the protocols the right way and doing everything possible, but how do you stop Manchester City from celebrating the way that they did the other night? They were all in a huddle, celebrating, sweating, exhaling badly. If you stop that, you stop the whole enjoyment of sport. All of us are suffering, but we are the lucky ones providing an entertainment that people can tune into and watch. There will come a stage, though, where we will have to make a decision. Let's hope there isn't further outbreaks in the next few weeks, end quote.
But, again, it's like I understand where Steve Bruce is coming from. You're not just saying, go play, go run around, go hug, go celebrate. Like, bring up the celebration thing. I mean, that's taken us back to, like, May of last year.
Yeah.
Like, that was thrown away a long time ago that was an issue. That's not the issue. Again, I get it, and it's like I really want to give him the benefit of the doubt because I understand that this is an emotional thing for him, and it should be. I totally get that. But celebrating a goal doesn't mean that these players are at more risk than if they were not playing and they were at home. It doesn't. Because, look, the reality is, and we've seen it in this country, we've seen it in the UK, we've seen it everywhere, if the players are at home, it doesn't mean they're going to stay at home and not put themselves at risk. It doesn't mean that they're not going to be at risk. We had this conversation with college sports. You know, like, does that make them safer? Or is it safer if they are in a team environment where they are being told every day, limit this, don't do this, don't do this? I mean, even still, you're having some people who do it. Hi, guys who had New Year's parties or Christmas parties. Like, but it feels like that is a better situation for a lot of these people. And there's no right answer here. That's the thing, and that's what we can get on soapboxes and we can stomp our feet and we can pound the desk, but there's so much that's out of everybody's control, and there's not an answer because it relies on everybody out there to do certain things and to limit certain things and to be smart about how they're carrying themselves. There's not an answer to this. The flip side is true, though. If you do decide that you can't do these things, then you're going to have businesses go under unless the government comes in and bails them out. And in the UK, the government's made it clear they're not going to do that. They're not going to bail them out. So that's the reality that's staring everybody in the face as they make these decisions. And it's not a pretty one, and it's not a fun one. I do think there is value in having these games. I've heard from Atlanta United fans who had value in the games taking place this year, even if they weren't able to attend. People who listened to our radio call, people who watched on TV. It is a distraction, just like we talked about yesterday. It is a break. It is a something to take your mind off of things that are incredibly difficult. It's been that way for me. That doesn't mean people should be put at risk, no, but I don't think the numbers show you that they are being put at risk. Because if they're being put at risk, the transmission level, the positive level, would be higher than the general population, and I don't think that's the case here. If I'm wrong, like, please let me know, but these numbers sound like they are lower, not higher.
Yeah, 1.8, 1.9%, yeah.
And maybe they are higher. I don't know. I don't know. They have gone up a little bit, and it is something to worry about. And there's also a lot of individual responsibility in this, too. It's incredibly hard, and it's going to be hard for a while longer. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's slowly starting to spread here in this country with vaccines, but it is slow. In other parts of the world, maybe it's going to be a little bit faster, but we still got to get through this period right now, and that is from a health perspective, that is from a business perspective, that is from a financial perspective, it's from a lot of perspectives, and they are not completely independent of one another, and that's what sucks. If they were, we're able to make different discussions. We're not. The PFA, thanks Katie Weaver, is again warning players not to celebrate in groups now, which, again, we're going back to an older bit of messaging here. PFA Chief Exec Gordon Taylor said, "We've sent a message to all our members saying, you've done a great job, you've kept the game going, and you deserve a lot of credit, but it's important you keep to the protocols. Always abide by what you're being told by doctors and medical staff with regard to the protocols about keeping your distance and the hygiene that's required. I understand with the celebration of a goal, it's difficult to just put the ball in the back of the net and act as though nothing has happened. It's that adrenaline rush. That's what the game is all about, but that's part and parcel of the process, so they'll be reminded. If it is more from a symbolism perspective, okay, I'm fine with that. I don't think it increases the risk of guys who are all cleared to play already, if that makes sense. I don't think it's increasing the risk by celebrating, but if it is about the symbolism of it, I'm okay with that. Jason Nix, the MLS teams being fined were about the mass confrontation of a referee, not from the celebration perspective. And that was something that the Bundesliga did a really good job with, driving that home early on when they came back, and they were the first ones about crowding the referee. That's an issue, too. If it's going to be about celebrations, you have to include that into it as well, which should be there anyway, because we shouldn't be having that because it's not good for the game. But that's another area that can easily be stopped and should be. Start throwing cards. Referees, players start crowding up into the referee's space. Card. You want to do it too? Card. I mean, do it. Like that. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. I think it's a little more symbolic, and that's fine. If that's what it takes to get through this period of time, that's what it takes. I don't think a celebration increases the risk, but that's going by the CDC's descriptions of close contact. You know, I mean, in a match, and this has been broken down by different people who have studied it, you're not within those close contact guidelines of players. You're not around a player within 6 feet for 15 minutes in this match. You're not. You're just not around people that much. The celebrations increase the amount of time you're around people, yes. The mass confrontations do too, but I don't think they put you over that edge.
Then we mentioned a couple of other Premier League sides. Sean Dyche came out publicly and said that footballers should be vaccinated so the money could be redistributed on testing players and send that money back to the NHS.
That's a tough one. I don't think they should jump the line.
Well, and he said, let's see, his quote was, he says, "Let me make it clear, there are people way in front of footballers as a priority. I'm not remotely suggesting that that they should be put in the front of the welfare of people who are very vulnerable."
Okay, that makes more sense. He said that second. Maybe let's help Sean out a little bit here.
Okay.
Let me make it clear, there are people way in front of footballers. I'm not remotely suggesting they should be put in front of the welfare of people who are very vulnerable. What I'm saying is it would be better putting the funding that is put into testing into the system to encourage more vaccinations. Let's go back to what he said first. You look at the amount spent on testing in the Premier League, then that money could be channeled back into the NHS and into the vaccination system. Surely that's a better place to be than just continually testing footballers 2-3 times a week. I agree with that in that way. I agree with that when it's put in that way. They shouldn't jump the line, but when their time comes, get them vaccinated. And if, look, the vaccination process, I don't know what it is in the UK, so I can't even speak to it. Here, it feels like a complete and utter crapshoot. You've got counties using Eventbrite like this is a rave in 1998. Oh, I don't think they had Eventbrite in 1998, but you get the point. To get your vaccination time. I mean, it's crazy. So if teams can be organized and get their people vaccinated when their time comes, great. And I agree. If they're going to do that, which, I guess any business could, right? If you can organize it and get this stuff done, then okay. If that requires them to put a certain amount of money in for vaccinations or for testing or for whatever it needs to be, then do it. If that's the trade-off, do it. Fine with that. It would be better financially. It would be better for that funding. Absolutely. They can't jump the line of vulnerable people. And whenever their time comes, if they can go in and get it done then as a group and then pay for others to get it done, okay, fine. This is crazy. I mean, the Eventbrite thing blew my mind when I saw that. I was like, geez, this is seriously like a small-time concert or house party that somebody is putting on, and that's how we're getting people vaccinated? Good grief.
we got FA Cup later today at 2:45.
We do, and it's going to get played. Aston Villa and Liverpool will happen. The club's training ground at Villa has been closed. Large number of players and staff returned positive tests. Have we seen 14 positives from NBC Sports, 10 first-team players, others self-isolating? Don't know. I don't think that's been confirmed by the team, right? That's what's being reported.
Yeah.
They did another round of testing. They are going to play. The Villa team will be filled with U23s and U18s, mostly U18s, I believe. NBC Sports also reporting that U23 coach Mark Delaney will only have a kit man and physio alongside him for the match, and the Spurs match on the 13th is in doubt because the bulk of the first team will still be isolating. You have different rules, I guess, with rosters, with FA Cup and with League, which maybe they need to look at that, because this is kind of weird that you could play a match and then a match later would be in doubt. That doesn't make a lot of logical sense, but welcome. If Villa can play safely and they've got kids who are going to get this experience, good for those kids. Good for those kids. I mean, I don't know what kind of lineup Liverpool's going to field. They've got time off between this one and their match with Manchester United. They've got a little over a week. So it kind of plays into their hands if they want to field first-team players. Maybe they field a few less, or maybe there are 5 subs in this, correct?
Yes.
Maybe they have some pre-planned subs if guys need a run-out for fitness sake. Okay, we'll see if anybody plays 88 minutes in a game if they have a huge lead against a U18 team with a few overage players. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Other FA Cup, Oldham Athletic and Bournemouth has been moved to Bournemouth. It's not going to be at Oldham where it was supposed to be. Why? It's nothing to do to COVID this time. The pitch is frozen at Oldham. Boundary Park is frozen. Not going to improve before Saturday afternoon, so they're moving it to the Vitality Stadium. A little bit more on the Marine FC situation with Tottenham. Tottenham fans set up GoFundMe pages to help raise money for Marine, basically like buying virtual match tickets to try to help them make some money. It sold more than 5,400 virtual tickets. Very cool. A U.S.-based Spurs fan blog has raised money to sponsor the shorts for the tie. Awesome. Jamie Carragher lives in the town. He's sponsoring the dugouts and the pre-match warm-up tops. Awesome. The club have fielded media inquiries from Russia, Australia, and Thailand. Carlo Ancelotti, who lives in Crosby, has sent the team a good luck message. Everton and Liverpool have both helped them in different ways with training facilities, with scouting help as well, that one's a little bit like, whoa, wait a minute. It's a great story, and it will ultimately help the club, and in some ways it might actually help them more that this is the situation as opposed to having a few thousand people in the ground and getting that opportunity to make gate money. This might have a more long-lasting effect, and hopefully they can spin it that way.
Yeah, there are, and we mentioned yesterday when it happened, where the Athletic UK is a part of the kit as well. You mentioned the blog that's a part of it, and they've also got, I think, JD Sports, the outfitter, the sporting goods outfit. They're going to be on the sleeve, and so they're getting a lot of support. A lot of different sponsors are going to be on the Marine kit. Very, very cool.
Yeah, very cool. I hope it's a long-lasting effect, because there's a lot of clubs like Marine FC. There's a lot of clubs that need to capitalize on whatever they can right now to keep going. I mean, their league is stopped right now. And that was where the comments that I do think got a little misconstrued about all their players were going to go on furlough after this. There's no games. There's nothing to play. So I mean, I'm assuming that at this level, the 8th level in England,
yeah,
guys are not on lucrative deals. Most of these guys probably do have second jobs. Most of these guys are probably getting paid on a per game basis. So there's nothing for them to play right now. And if they somehow win and keep going, then they have another game to play and they get to continue. But they're gonna try to continue after all of this once things come back, and hopefully next fall they will be back in a normal kind of schedule. But they've got to get to that point. They've got to survive it. This will help them if they capitalize on all the exposure.
Right now, your juice boxes on that one. Tottenham was a minus 10,000 yesterday.
Jesus.
That number has been cut in half to a minus 5,000. Marine is a plus 44.35 in the composite, and the draw is a plus 21.25.
I can't believe that's even on a board right now.
Yeah.
Jose Mourinho has been speaking to the media this morning ahead of the match. The Villa game is in doubt next week. Mourinho says it is, quote, completely impossible, unquote, for the club to have 3 matches postponed. Fulham and League Cup final game is in parentheses there. Was the League Cup final going to be postponed against
I haven't heard.
City?
I
I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
Mourinho calls on the Premier League, and this is from Dan Kilpatrick of the Evening Standard, calls on the Premier League to, quote, show some leadership, and also in quotes, we cannot be punished. Mourinho said he has discussed hypotheticals with his coaching staff, but says, quote, it is not for me to find solutions. He reiterates that Spurs will refuse to play 2 midweek matches again. They did have to do that earlier in the year. Got it. Thank you, Ragamuffin. They pushed the League Cup game back to April because they want to have fans at Wembley. Again, I don't know the rollout of the vaccines in the UK. I do know it's ahead of schedule, and I do know it's a much smaller country. So it is, I guess, feasible that they would be in a position to have fans at Wembley if they proceed with the vaccinations across the country the way that they, I believe, have been. I mean, I know they're doing a lot better than we are. But I don't know all the details. It's a smaller country, so hopefully they can get there. I don't have a problem with that one. I think Jose's barking up the wrong tree on that one. But no, they shouldn't play 2 midweek matches again. They shouldn't have to. And does that mean that somebody's got to forfeit with the games that were postponed earlier? I don't know. I don't know the right solution. There's not a right solution. There's not an easy way to handle this. But no, I mean, Tottenham shouldn't be punished. He's right in that. They didn't do anything wrong. They were ready to play these games. If they can't play them and it's not their fault, why should they then have to play 2 midweek matches like they did before? They shouldn't. This was the same conversation we had about, Colorado Rapids trying to reschedule games late in the season. Like, why should teams have to play on shorter rest than they're scheduled to because the Rapids had an issue? Like, that's not fair. There's not a way to really justify that. I mean, you can do the it is what it is argument, which is true. It is. But it doesn't make it fair to the team that didn't do anything wrong that then has to deal with the ramifications of that. I don't know. And Katie, yes, I'm really ticked off about this. The Women's FA Cup, I believe they're doing coin flips with them not playing games. They're literally flipping coins to see who advances. That's insane. And the FA does a lot of stupid things. This is one of the stupidest things they have done. John is going to try to find that for us while he is looking confused, and we'll see if he can figure this out. I did see that. I did see people commenting on it. I did not see the FA's comment on it. That's what I was waiting to see because, wow, that's madness. Just postpone it. If that means you need to kind of reschedule the whole setup of the Women's FA Cup, then do it. If that means you have the Women's FA Cup final at the start of the next season, do it. Don't do discussions by a coin flip. And yes, I would agree. Rock, paper, scissors would be better than a coin flip. At least there's some skill in that.
Yeah.
Get the captains out there, do rock, paper, scissors if you're going to do something stupid like that. Don't do a coin flip.
Yeah, no comments from the FA. Aston Villa women's midfielder, and this is from Sky. Anita Asante has criticized a proposal to decide cup matches by a coin toss after the competition was suspended. Second and third round matches in the competition, currently classified as non-elite, postponed last month following the government's announcement of a new lockdown. Meetings have since been held to discuss ways to progress with the tournament, with a coin toss one of a number of options being considered. It's understood there would be similar discussions surrounding the men's tournament if they were in the same situation, Asante told Sky. I was really shocked to read that. Personally, I think it's a disservice to the players that sacrifice a lot to compete at that level. All those girls will want to be able to decide games by playing. It undermines the sport and what we're trying to push as elite level footballers by reducing it to something that is child's play.
That is insanity. And there's a lot of reasons why. People will argue about equal pay in the game because they'll say that the revenues aren't equal. And there's an argument to be had there. Equal treatment is a different conversation, and it should not get lumped into the same. You are conducting an FA Cup on the men's side, on the women's side. Why would you be having a game go ahead with U18s and U23s today? Meanwhile, you're not going ahead and playing games on the other side. Now, I understand the government side of it, and they can get involved in this equal treatment thing as well. The professional Division I league for men and women should be treated the same. If the men are allowed to play, the women should be allowed to play. And they're not going to stop the men playing the FA Cup, so the women's FA Cup should continue. And it should be with the same situations. If teams can't play, then they are eliminated from the tournament, and the other teams advance. If you're going to do that on the men's side, that's what you should do on the women. Period. If you make a decision, and if that's the way you want to go, and everybody agrees to it, that would include the women's clubs, that you're going to postpone it, and you're going to push those rounds back in the calendar, that's fine. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody agrees. Fine. The men can't do that. They don't have the room to do that in the schedule. They're not doing that. Okay, that's their decision. The women should have the ability to continue. If they decide not to, and everybody's in agreement, fine. But the idea that you would do a coin flip to decide a winner, insane. And that is a complete, utter lie that anybody from the FA would actually say that they would do a coin flip to decide a men's FA Cup game. That is a lie. There is no way that would happen. There is zero possibility of that happening. They would not do it. So don't even lie. And it should be called out as a lie. There's no way they would do that. It's insane. If you're going to have the competition for the men and the women, you need to treat it the same. Period. That's it. And that's not an equal pay argument. That is an equal treatment argument. And there's no way to argue against it. It's just, no, you can't do that.
Kelly Simmons, the FA's director of the women's professional game, says a coin toss would be, quote, the last option. Speaking to ITV, she stressed the most important consideration in all of this is the player's safety. It might be the only way we can move through and get to the latter rounds. She added, there's no great or simple solution. Baroness Sue Campbell, the FA's director of women's football, told BBC.
There is a simple solution, and the women's tournament doesn't have the same issues that the men's tournament has. Because the men's tournament, yes, they are still looking at schedules and calendars with a European Championship, a Copa America, a Gold Cup, all those things in the summer. Those put limitations on when the tournament can get concluded. Other countries have done these situations where they have had their cup final or cup rounds from the previous year get pushed later. Other parts of the UK have. Scotland, for example. The recent cup final between Celtic and Hearts, that was from the previous year. That, yes, they didn't finish, but they played it, in November? Early December, whenever?
Yeah.
That should have been done by May of earlier in 2020, and if they had done it before the season started, then okay, that would have still fit. They didn't. They held it off. You can do the same here. The FA Cup on the men's side could too if they wanted to, but people would stomp their feet and cry and complain and throw their fish and chips at the wall. On the women's side, they don't have a European Championship coming up this summer. They do have an Olympics, and they would probably want to get it done by then, but I would think that they could. And if they can't, then push it after the Olympics. If you have to have the semifinals before the Olympics and have the final later, do it then. push the start of the next tournament back a little bit, because I know it doesn't run throughout the whole season next year. Yes, you can push everything back. The women's side, it's easier to. If that means the Women's FA Cup final is in October, and it was from the 2021 year, and it's pushed to October of 21, early in the next season, fine. Do it that way. There's plenty of solutions. You don't do a coin flip. Because, no, they're lying. They would never do a coin flip to decide who would advance on the men's side. They would find another solution. So you can't do that on the women's side. It's embarrassing.
Baroness Sue Campbell, the FA's director of women's football, told BBC Sport, quote, "We are in a pandemic and we are in a very serious place. As the FA, we have to protect the well-being of our players, whether they are grassroots or elite. That is our number one priority. We do not believe that either the testing or the medical support is there in those grassroots clubs to give us the surety that we would want that they would be safe," end quote.
Okay,
Manchester City.
That's different. That's not even the same argument, unless you're telling us that the women's components of these men's clubs are grassroots, because they're not. So grassroots clubs, different argument. I understand it. But no, you got to do better than that. And if they are, then maybe the FA needs to actually give Liverpool some money and give Manchester United some money to run their women's team the right way. Some clubs are doing it right, some aren't. That's on those clubs. They're not grassroots. The Division 1, Division 2 women's professional game in the UK, or in England in this case, is not grassroots, and it should not be discussed as grassroots.
Manchester City was crowned Women's FA Cup champs when they beat Everton in extra time at Wembley, delayed until November due to coronavirus. Everton boss Willie Kirk set a coin toss, decided which team was named home and away in that final, but he never ever thought a game would be decided by that at that level. No. If that's the only way to do it, it's the only way to do it. He said nothing would surprise us right now.
BS. That's not the only way to do it. That needs to be thrown out of the conversation.
It would be a shame for those clubs to lose an FA Cup game on a coin toss. They're obviously keen for the competition to be included this season, unlike last season where we carried it over. Kirk continues, "I don't know how much flexibility there is in the calendar, but I feel there is a little bit of flexibility to wait a few weeks to see if we can get these games played. It's a difficult one for the FA, but obviously teams would be disappointed if they go down that route," end quote.
There is some flexibility, and they need to use it. It's insane enough to come up. Okay. Yeah, good point, Bern. Sam Kerr would be an awfully well-remunerated grassroots player then. That's insane. Just treat it the same. You're going to create the competition, create it the same way. Mm-hmm. Question came up, Clayton Poss on the Twitch pitch. Have we already talked about our beloved Tito Villalba wanting to come back? Article in The Athletic from Felipe Cardenas yesterday spoke to Tito Villalba, who is at Club Libertad in Paraguay, and wanting to come back is maybe not the accurate depiction of it, unless I'm misreading it. I think he said he would be willing to come back. There's not a place for him to come back right now. Tito Villalba was a great player for this team in 2017. He was a very good player in 2018. He was not very good in 2019. And he has not been very good for Club Libertad. He scored 3 goals in 26 games in Libertadores and league play for Libertad. He started 15 games of those 26. He's had injuries. He had injuries in 2019. He hasn't performed well in those 2 years. I've seen the article, Abby. I got it. There's look, I know there's a lot of love for Tito Villalba and his time in Atlanta, and there should be. He was the first designated player that the club signed. He was a fan favorite. He was outstanding in 2017. Absolutely outstanding. Vital when Joseph Martinez went down. Tito's performances kept the team going at that time. Very dangerous player. Injuries have kind of limited his effectiveness for a couple of years now. Libertad fans would pack his bags and take him to the airport very, very fast. They're not fans of his performances at Libertad. which is a little unfair because of the price tag, which was the largest that a Paraguayan club has ever paid for a player, at least the largest Libertad's ever paid. And the performance, and it hasn't been good. He had some things to say in the article that I disagree with to a degree. Obviously was not valued by Frank de Boer in the way that Tito thought he should have been. What else stood out to you in it, John?
It's just, for me, just in general, he has not been the same player since the injuries in 2019. And with his form at Libertad, I look at, and I will, much like you, I sit there and I will value his time in 2017, value his time in 2018. But the idea that that since he has been injured, he has not been the same player. And then I know when you mentioned the price tag with folks at Libertad and the nature of their anger because he hasn't produced akin to the price tag. But for me, once again, all of these things, 2019 and 2020, the injuries and all of this, in the current dynamic, where would he fit considering his form over the last two seasons? You know, would you take a flyer again to bring him back if he was asked? You know, if he was asked, I would consider coming back. With his recent form, and with everyone who is here with Atlanta United now, would he play? That to me is the largest question here. With the roster that's currently constructed, would he play considering what has been going on with Tito Villalba in the last two seasons? That to me is the largest point here.
No.
Would he? And that's the thing. It's like, would he play? And my answer is no, because of A, recent form, and B, I don't think he's been the same since the injuries.
He hasn't. He's scored 4 goals in almost 50 games in the last 2 years. It's a fact. It's there. You can look it up. He wouldn't play over Jurgen Damm. He wouldn't play over Ezequiel Barco. He just wouldn't. He's not the same player that he was. He doesn't have the breakaway speed that he did, and that was the number one component to his game. That was it. It's awesome that he loves the city. It's awesome that he spoke to Felipe. I know a lot of fans probably loved hearing from him. I'm glad he kind of said why he didn't say anything to the fans when he left. I was really disappointed with that. As somebody who'd been a really big fan of Tito's, I thought that was very poor that he didn't say anything to the fans on his way out the door. You can be upset with the club, that's fine, but the fans loved him, and they still do. And he didn't say goodbye. That was really surprising. And if it was emotional because he was angry with the team, that's fine, but it still doesn't excuse not saying anything to the fans.
Yeah.
The article did mention that there were a couple of Eastern Conference teams that were interested in him. Not sure who that would be. I mean, start going through teams that have openings. There's a few who could use him. Again, he's not the same player right now. He just isn't. If he had been here this past year, would he have played when Joseph went out? He could have. It sounds like he would not have for Frank, because Tito seems to think that Frank didn't rate him, and if he didn't, he didn't. I've brought it up before. There was the game late in the season when Atlanta went to Yankee Stadium in 2019, and Villalba had a great opportunity in a 1v1 matchup with Sebastian Ibeagha, which in 2017 or 2018, Tito Villalba lights him up. And I expected him to light him up. I'm assuming that was part of the matchup discussion. And he didn't. He couldn't beat him. Couldn't beat him 1v1 multiple times. And then wasn't doing the rest of the things he needed to do in that position. And the team fell apart. It was very poor. I think that was kind of the last shot. This happens. It's not anybody doing anything wrong here. It's just it happens. He hasn't been the same after the injuries, and let's be real, as it was pointed out in the Twitch pitch, I believe Tesco had it. Tata Martino benched him in 2018. He was coming off the bench in 2018 as the year went on. It wasn't like Frank was the first one to have him come off the bench. That also needs to be understood. It sounds personal that Tito did not enjoy his time with Frank. I mean, he talks about how everything went so bad and all this. And again, they were third in the league. They won they won the Open Cup. They won the Campeones Cup against Club America. They were in the Eastern Conference Final. It was not that bad, but he wasn't as much of a part of it. And he wanted to be able to play more, and that wasn't going to be guaranteed to him here, and nor should it have been. This article's gotten a lot of people going, and I totally understand it. He is a fan favorite, but it's just, you can't go back in time. And he would not play as a starter with this team right now as it is currently constructed, I don't think. Not where he is form-wise. If you know that his knee is back to where it should be, because he had knee issues again this year, if you know that everything is where it should be, if you know he is 100%, then maybe we're having a different discussion. But you've got 2 years of data and games and tape to watch that he's not the same player, and that does count for something. So I don't know. I don't know, and in a system that would be as physically demanding as Gabriel Heinze's is, I don't know if he would hold up. And that's got to be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I keep going back to the points of run of form, recent form, and if you want to go back 2 years, then include that. And without being productive and or prolific at Libertad, plus coming back from the injuries, like I said, I just don't know where he would fit in the system. I don't know how much he would play. He wanted to go someplace where he could start, where he could play more, where he could get quality minutes, however you want to phrase it. And that was not going to happen at Atlanta. And then he goes to Libertad, and the output hasn't been there either. Nope. For whatever reason.
He's had injuries, but still.
Yeah. And so it's just, I will once again stipulate, I thoroughly enjoyed watching him 2017, 2018, and understood how he was a part of the fabric of Atlanta United. We'll completely understand that, and we'll treasure those years of 2017, 2018. Then with the injuries in 2019, when he came back, you mentioned the Ibiaga moment with NYCFC. Like I said, I just don't think he was the same player.
No.
And when you come back and it's like, well, I want to start and I want quality minutes. Well, yes, you said in the article that you felt like you had to work 3 times as hard under Frank, but it didn't see the value. And I want to get the quote right, just so I want to get it right where he said he had to work 3 times as hard. But I felt that De Boer didn't value the work that I put in on a daily basis, so I'd work 3 times as hard. That helped me to mature as a footballer. It didn't work out the way I thought it would. I thought eventually he'd value the work I was putting in. But once again, I mean, that's his perspective on what it was like. But I look back at 2020 and I look back at 2019, and it's just, I don't know where he would fit into this right now with the resources that Atlanta United has on hand.
No, and I would wonder last year, when going into last season when that decision was made, if Jurgen Damm was all but a done deal as well, because we knew he was going out of contract in the summer, and I think that was announced pretty early on after Tito was sold. That Jurgen Damm it was reported that he would be coming to Atlanta. So, I mean, if you're comparing the two and you make that decision, there's not a lot of a comparison there on where Tito was at that time, and it hasn't gotten better. So, a couple points real quick from the Twitch pitch before we move on. And if you guys have more questions, we'll get into them for sure. Mike Conti will be joining us here in just a second. Burns says very few pure speed players can stay on top of the game as they get older. And he's not old, but injuries have kind of aged him. Jamie Vardy is honestly the only one I can think of. Modaflow mentioned Michael Owen. Both are good comparisons here. Also, both are more pure forwards, and Tito's not. He's more of a winger, and it's going to affect you more as a winger not having that than if you're a pure forward because you can modify your game. I mean, Michael Owen became a very different player at the end of his career after injuries. He wasn't the guy who had that break in World Cup 98 running through everybody. He had to change. Can Tito evolve? And that's what we'll have to see. Okay, we got to do one thing before we get Mike Conti on the line. Are you ready, John?
Oh, I guess I should stretch out?
I'm just asking if you're ready. I don't know if you need to stretch or not.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's give it a shot. Here we go.
All right. Thank you, Steve Apolinsky in Decatur, GA.
Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here and the SDH network for wrongful death and serious injury matters. One location that you need to go to, that you need to consult with, that you need to get your answers from, and it's Apolinsky and Associates, LLC. A couple different ways that you can do it. You can do it over the phone, get a free consultation, area code 404-377-9191. You can shoot Steve an email directly, STEVE, at aa-legal.com. Or you can go on the World Wide Web, type into the taskbar, not quite as loudly, aa-legal.com, large device or small, hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whichever advances you forward. Pop-up window pops up, lower right-hand corner at aa-legal.com, 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Thank you, Chris Hutchison, for that, as always. You can get your answers to your questions inside the pop-up window as well with a conversation that you can have with an individual at the other end of the pop-up window. So it is the World Wide Web. It is the phone. It is emailing Steve directly. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for your clients in Georgia and Alabama. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, the website is one place, aa-legal.com. For Apolinsky and Associates, LLC.
Oh, boy, you got creative with that. I don't know how that's going to go. We'll see how the judges feel while Mateo dials up Mike Conti. Let's see what we have. 0 out of 10 from Thad Dooley.
Wow, TD gives me a bagel.
The keyboard typing was bad. Ragamuffin, I think, had you a 1 and then took it down to a 0.
Oh, wow.
Katie gave you a 3. Started strong, then got weird with the bullet point summary. You lost a point for the clickety-clackety. You got 3 out of 10. J-Dub was not happy with the ending. 6 Gear, not happy with the ending. 1.7. A 4, a 5. The sound effects are not well received. A 1, 1/0, undefined because it was so bad. Soccer for Good OG liked the keyboard. Got you a 7. 6.5 because Abby liked the sound effect too. Mazzano gave you a 3. Mike, if you are there, John did not do very well in his read today.
Well, it's always good to leave yourself room for improvement.
This is true. Sometimes you take chances and you try to get creative, and they fail, and it happens.
Well, and I see we're still typing.
Yes, he likes to type a lot.
I'm promoting your appearance, Mike.
I appreciate that.
It's called a mute button. You can try it. Anyway. We were talking about the Tito Villalba interview with Felipe Cardenas just a little bit ago. A lot of questions about it. A lot of people riled up in different ways about it. Not sure if you had a chance to see that yet, Mike.
I did, yeah.
What do you think?
Nothing surprising.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as earth-shattering as it's been made out to be by some. Tito liked playing for Atlanta United, and things didn't work out for him as time went on. I'm not exactly sure it's 100% fair to blame all of that on Frank. It's not like Tito didn't get opportunities. I keep thinking back to that game up at Yankee Stadium where he was given a really important opportunity, and I think a good chance to have some success against a very, very young, unproven defender, and he really struggled in that game.
Do you remember how excited I was when that lineup came out?
I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
I was so giddy when that lineup came out.
And it just did not work out. Just didn't work out. Now, Joseph Martinez didn't play in that game. Okay, so, I mean, it's not maybe 100% all on Tito. I mean,
the whole result's not
the
at all.
complementary parts around
his
it.
individual performance was, because I'm not even taking it to the result. I'm taking it to he had opportunities in his wheelhouse 1v1 against a player playing right back who's predominantly a third or fourth choice center back.
Right.
And couldn't beat him, and then didn't contribute defensively when the team countered, and it fell apart.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, I think a lot of our memories of Tito are from 2017 and 2018, and he scored some very key goals for this team and some beautiful goals for this team. But when it came down to individual execution, as his time went on in Atlanta, that started to decline. Now, none of this is to say that I wouldn't like to have Tito Villalba back in Atlanta. I mean, he's a good player. He can help this team. Fans love him. I think he could probably relate very, very well to Heinze. I think Heinze could potentially get the best out of him. But I think we also need to be a little bit more realistic about the circumstances that led to his departure. I think, again, it's become very trendy to just say, oh, well, I didn't get along with Frank. There's another example of someone that didn't get along with Frank, and we're worse off because he's not here. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe he didn't have 100% of a great relationship with Frank, but I think it comes down to the individual moments where in 2019, he just did not play at the level that we were accustomed to see him playing. That's on him. It's not on the coach. So I also think we need this is something we talked about on Stoppage Time Wednesday. I just think, again, we're very, very wistful, and we have lots of great memories of 2017 and 2018. And sometimes it's okay to just let the past be the past and focus on the future. And Tito Villalba is not the first player that I've heard a lot of our fans say, oh, boy, if only we could have him back. It is okay to kind of let the past be the past and move on and focus on the future. If Tito Villalba is going to be a part of the future, that's great. I think he can help. But if he's not, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
Yeah, Dan Graham is in this morning on Twitter, and he says Tito in the Mulroney or John roster spot would be acceptable, but his recent form suggests even that wouldn't work. And
I agree.
And he wasn't going to be paid like that because he was still under a contract. I mean, that's the other key thing here is he wouldn't have reverted to that role because of his salary. And I don't know his long-term contract situation. I don't know if he was going into the last year of it or what, but you got $4 million at least, and I've seen some reports out of Paraguay that it was closer to $5 million for a player who was coming off of a 3-goal season.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good piece of business.
It's a great piece of business. It's very similar to the piece of business they executed on Pity Martinez. So it was a good article. It was very, very enlightening. It was very, very insightful. And I think, as a reader, I learned a lot, and I have nothing but positive things to say about Tito and what he's done for the club, and fans love him for a reason. But I'll just kind of leave it at that. Like I don't have this overwhelming urge to just bang on the walls and bang on pots and pans and say we've got to bring Tito Villalba back. Yeah. And I think also that there would be a legitimate question: where would he fit into this current roster as it's constructed right now?
Yeah.
Are you going to want to impact Eric Lopez's ability to develop and play so you can play Tito Villalba more? Are you going to want to impact Barco's opportunity to play and prove himself to whoever would be interested in purchasing him that could ratchet up his purchase price. Do you want to put that at risk because you want Tito Villalba to play more? I think you've got to stay true to your long-term business plans and your long-term playing plans, and shoehorning Tito Villalba into that, I think, might be a little bit complicated, a little bit tricky.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I would love it at some point to go back and dig into the timeline a bit to see when the Jürgen Damm conversation started, because I believe there could have already been discussions about him coming at the end of his contract because he wasn't going to renew at Tigres. I know the rumors were already there early in the season last year, and I think it was announced later, but the rumors were already there that he was going to come to Atlanta when his contract was up in the summer window. So, if you'd already made that decision that you were going to get him on a free deal, and Tito then was going to have somebody else in front of him for playing time, then it didn't make any sense. So, and now it's not any better because Dom is still here. You have Lopez coming through. You have players like Tyler Wolff and Jackson Conway who are going to need some time here at some point. There's not as much ability there for him to play. And I don't think he would be at his age, and he shouldn't be, willing to accept being a backup somewhere. He's got the opportunity to play. He wants to play for Paraguay. That's one reason he went to Libertad, was to play more, to be able to push his way into the national team, and he's had more injuries on top of it. So he's not in a better place than he was when he left. And it's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. It is a shame, but it's also reality.
Yeah.
Tito Villalba is going to be a backup on Atlanta United if he comes back here. I think that's the bottom line.
He would walk in that way, and that can always change if performances are there, but that would be what he would walk into. And there's not, at his age, with what he has done in his career, and if he is fully healthy, he shouldn't accept walking into a situation that way. He should want to go somewhere where he is the number one guy on the wing or as a second forward, depending on where he's going to play. And that would not be here. He would not walk in that way here. It wouldn't be the case, not with who's already on the roster.
There might be other MLS clubs. There might be other clubs in Mexico or in other parts of North and Central America where that could be the case. I don't think that's going to be the case in Atlanta. I don't. And again, I think you bear a little bit of a responsibility to guys like Jürgen Damm and Eric Lopez, and Tyler Wolff and Jackson Conway, players that you're really trying to develop. I'll even include Barco in that. I'll stick to that. These are players that you've committed to trying to grow and develop and hopefully get them to wherever they want to be, whether it be in Europe or long-term with Atlanta United, make them the best possible player they can be. Bringing in a guy like Tito Villalba makes that very, very complicated and very, very tricky. And furthermore, I don't really see, even in terms of Tito coming in a backup role, I don't really see a position right now where you desperately need cover even. Where, okay, if you can convince Tito to come in and provide cover and be a backup, that you could bring him in. I don't even know where he would fit in that conversation right now.
Yeah, and I mean, that to me, Mike, is a part of it, where he would want, you would imagine he would want to start, to play a lot of minutes. He would want starter/play a lot of minutes money to be a part of the salary structure. But just for me, it just comes down to fit and current form.
Yeah.
And it's like there's no mesh there.
I agree. Yeah. It just comes down to that for me. And it doesn't make Tito's contribution to Atlanta United any less valuable.
No.
When he was in form. Let me be really, really clear on that. Like, I'm not trying to diminish Tito Villalba's importance to this club. He is a club legend. There is, I think we can all agree on that. He's a club legend. And I have very, very fond memories of what he did for this club. But right now, it just does not make sense. It doesn't make sense to me.
If you could somehow get him on backup dollars and he is healthy and he would be willing to fight his way into winning time, great. But that's about the only way it's going to work.
Well, and by the way, reading that article, I don't really get the impression that Tito is in that frame of mind.
No, I don't either.
No.
He shouldn't be. He shouldn't be. He's 26. He should be pushing to be the guy somewhere, and that would not be the case here. So it's not a good fit, and it wouldn't be good for him either. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think more than anything, it was just him speaking fondly of his time in Atlanta. I'm glad he did address the fans. That was really good to see because that was a disappointment that he didn't when he left. He said he was upset and frustrated about it. I get it. The fans had nothing to do with that. Let's move on to some other stuff in MLS. Gonzalo Pineda has now had talks break down with DC United, according to Stephen Goff of the Washington Post. So that's two. Chris Armas, who reportedly had talks break down. Now Gonzalo Pineda, talks have broken down. What in the world is going on with DC?
How are you going to feel when you're the guy they hire?
I know.
Yeah, and you weren't even the first or second choice.
Exactly.
Now, listen, I mean, I've gotten many jobs where I've known that I was not the first or second choice, and I'm still fine cashing that paycheck. But no, I mean, it's gotten messy, and it's sadly not surprising for that club, unfortunately. I thought Pineda would have been a really, really good hire for them. I thought that Armas would have been a really, really good hire for them, but I'm not a DC fan, and I understand why DC fans may feel otherwise.
They voted for a Papusa instead of Chris Armas to be the manager.
Pretty much, yeah. So, look, I don't know where you go from here, but you almost wonder if they're going to come back to Chad Ashton at some point now. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I don't necessarily think that would be a bad hire. I mean, I think Chad Ashton, who's been with that club for a while, did a pretty good job getting about the most that he could get out of that group at the end of the season, to the point where they had a chance to make the playoffs on the final day of the year. Mm-hmm. But again, if that's who they come back to, and I'm not sure if it is, but if that's who they come back to, how are you going to feel about that?
Yeah. It's the same thing that Ben Olsen did. Because when Ben Olsen got the job, so Ben Olsen retired, became an assistant with Kurt Analfo, who was brought in. Analfo didn't even make it out of year one as the manager. Olsen was handed the reins not even a year into coaching, and he was the interim. They said after that season that they were looking for an experienced coach. There were names that came up. Lucien Favre's name, who went on to Dortmund. Later after that, but his name came up, and a bunch of names came up. Nothing got done. I think it was the president or the CEO at the time, Kevin Bain, was very clear in saying he did not see Ben Olsen as the coach, but he couldn't hire anybody else, so Ben Olsen became the coach, and we know how long that lasted. If Chad Ashton is the one, it's the exact same situation that happened a decade ago. And what does that tell you about where DC is at this point? It's a problem.
Yeah, it really is. And again, clock's ticking.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have training camp opening 2 weeks from this Monday. So clock's ticking. Look, DC's not going to be in Champions League, and it seems like we're going to have at least a minor delay to the start of the MLS season. It could be a couple weeks, it could be a couple months. So it's not quite as urgent for DC as it would be for a team that's going to play in Champions League. But man, I mean, you're losing time right now. You are really, really losing time. And the fact that it's taken this long, and the fact that it took this long to get to a point where it would break down with a candidate, what have they been doing for the last 4 months? What have they been doing? And if you were going to sack Ben Olsen in the middle of the season, why did you do that if you didn't have a plan?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I don't get it. And they're going to be in some trouble now. Because I think, again, if you go back to the well and you start talking to people that you've already said thanks but no thanks to, how are they going to feel about it?
Why should they give you the time of day at that point? It's like,
exactly.
So you're calling me back now? It's like, why should I even talk to you?
And then if you move on to, the mostly random names that have come up from Europe, and maybe you wanted somebody with experience in the league. Okay, that ship has sailed. You can't go back to Ezra Hendrickson now. You can't go back to Pat Noonan now. You can't go back to Armas now. That's craziness.
No.
So the one that jumps out to me that has been in the mix and reportedly they've interviewed, and I don't know where he stands now, is Rodolfo Borrell, the assistant at Manchester City, who was heavily involved in academy work at Barcelona and at City. And this is where it's tough because they are developing players from within, and they've got a lot of promising young talent, and that's what they need to lean on, and that's what they need to craft as their new identity. They really need to look at what Philadelphia has done and put that on steroids and do it in a bigger way, in a bigger market. In D.C., with more trophies at least. If I'm going to say bigger market, let me be fair. More heritage with the club. But I don't think they can just hire somebody from within to keep things going because the fan base needs something. It was 10 years with Olsen. They couldn't hire anybody that time. Now they're having problems hiring people again. They need a little bit of sizzle. I think Borrell would be the guy that might give you a little bit of both because he would focus on the youth, he would focus on the development. He would be unproven. You'd have to give him time as a first-team head coach and somebody new to MLS, but he would fit where they really need to go long-term if they had a plan. Maybe they would back themselves into a plan with this and develop from within, develop the talent in that region because there's a lot of talent in that region. They need to do better in that regard. They've got young talent coming through. Lean into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A hire like that would make a lot of sense for them. But again, it's taken you 4 or 5 months to get to this point now. Yeah. And that, I think, if I were a DC supporter, I'd be very, very alarmed by. Be really, really concerned by that. And I think the other problem, too, is you still have another club in this league that you're still kind of bidding against. So for top-level candidates out there, the candidates still have the leverage because Toronto has not made their hire yet. So it's a mess. I don't know how they're going to resolve it. They're going to have to get this done quickly. Mm-hmm. But I would be incredibly frustrated if I were a DC supporter, and this is where we stood 4 or 5 months after Ben Olsen was sacked.
Then let me present this to the floor. How difficult would it be to bring someone like a Borrell from Europe here to the United States because of the current COVID-19 concerns that we have in Europe and the U.S.?
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, you gotta get a hire done. Yes, you should have done that before. You should have dealt with that before. That would probably mean that Chad Ashton's going to be sticking around and maybe as part of Borrell's staff. Which, if that's what you have to do to make everything work, that's what you have to do. Like. You can't now at this point say, well, we can't do that because he's coming from overseas and that's going to be hard. You should have dealt with that a long time ago.
No question.
But you can't not do it now because you've already interviewed everybody who you would have considered domestically and you've either turned them down or you haven't been able to get a deal done. You can't go deeper on the depth chart domestically because you've already screwed up a whole bunch of other people on the list. If he's your best person available, you got to go in that direction. You got to find a way to make it work. That's all you can do now.
Yeah. And look, it's not like, the Red Bulls, for example. I mean, they hired a guy who couldn't come over here right away, but they still did it. If you have to struggle with getting a guy into the country for 6 to 8 weeks to have him around for a couple years, you're willing to wait 6 to 8 weeks to do it.
Yeah, you have to at this point. Let's move on to Utah. MLS will take over the sales process of selling Real Salt Lake, the holding company that's got RSL, that's got the Monarchs and USL Championship, it's got the stadium, it's got the training facility. The Royals are out of it. They've been moved on to Kansas City. Deloy Hansen had until today to find a buyer. Hasn't happened. It sounds like he talked at one point to the now Utah Jazz owner, Ryan Smith, who was not the Utah Jazz owner at that time. He is still interested, according to Alex Fehar's sources of the Salt Lake Tribune. And he said things that kind of fall along those lines, maybe even bringing previous Utah Jazz owner Gail Miller in on the deal and jumping in and getting RSL. He had mentioned it before. Maybe it comes up now. Who knows? I don't know how much you know about him with the Jazz and what's gone on there, but it seems like that would be a really good move for RSL and
Yes.
and add another quality owner to the league in MLS.
Yeah, and I don't know a lot about him because I think the Jazz purchase only recently occurred.
Yeah, it's pretty recent.
So I really don't know much about him. But I think any kind of marketing synergy you can have between the Jazz, who are very, very much on page 1A in Salt Lake City. I mean, RSL has a really dedicated supporters base, and they're really, really engaged. But they are still not on the front page of the sports section there compared to the level of attention that the Jazz get and that the Utes and BYU get. Okay, so any kind of marketing synergy that you can have with the Jazz in that market would be very, very good for them. Very appreciated. Probably would give them access to some TV and broadcast opportunities that they don't currently have, some sponsorship opportunities that maybe they haven't been able to realize or close. And I think RSL is an attractive property. They've got a great venue that can be repurposed for more than just soccer, by the way, in a very, very accessible place. Jason and I have been there. I mean, it's a beautiful venue, easy to get to. I am assuming the Royals venue where they had the NWSL tournament would also be in that.
Yeah, that's where the Monarchs play. Yeah,
or Monarchs, Royals, excuse me, Monarchs. I'm assuming that would also be in that. So that, it's more infrastructure. You mentioned the training ground, so just from a real estate standpoint, it make a lot of sense. But I think that would be a really, really good solution. And you're right, Jason. I mean, someone who has, albeit very short-lived, but still experience owning an NBA team is going to help the league. There's a certain degree of business savvy that comes along with it in the same way that Arthur Blank and Robert Kraft and Jimmy Haslam and, the Hunt family and some of these NFL owners who are involved in MLS. The TFC owner is involved with the Raptors and Maple Leafs, and that's been very, very good for them up there. So I'm with you. If that ends up being the solution, that would be a really good thing. Right now, we just need to have a solution. I cannot imagine how stressful that must be for the club staff, its players, everyone involved in the day-to-day operation of that club going into this period of limbo now. And it's not unprecedented. It has happened before. It's happened in the NBA with the New Orleans Hornets, where the league had to take over the selling process because George Shinn wanted out. They couldn't find a buyer, but the league felt very, very strongly about keeping it in New Orleans. The league ran the sale process and even signed paychecks for a little while, and it was fine. The club survived and continued. No one lost their jobs. But it's got to be incredibly stressful, and I'm sure those players and that club staff, all they want to do right now is focus on the 2021 season and put all of this behind them. And it's a little bit unfortunate that they haven't been able to accomplish that yet.
Ryan Smith, the apparent sale price of the Utah Jazz was $1.67 billion. He went on Woj the Adrian Wojnarowski podcast on ESPN, and here's one of the quotes that came out of that. A soccer team came available, and I talked to the Millers and asked them, would you want to be in it with me? And the reality was they were like, well, no. But then he said to Adrian, I said, well, how about if I buy the soccer team and we put it together with the Jazz? And so, Mike, to your point, and Jason, what you guys have been talking about, it's the whole the integration of all of these sports teams in these markets. And, you're not going to dive into something unless you see it as either an undervalued asset or a valued asset that you can truly sit there and do something with. And I think that Ryan Smith, if he was to get Real Salt Lake and all of the training facilities and all these kinds of things, I think that you really could have a lot of opportunities with them paired with the Jazz to elevate them in the consciousness of Salt Lake City and, really Rocky Mountain media when it comes to something. So, yeah, this to me has all of the viewings of an undervalued asset.
I agree. Totally agree. I think I think the other thing, too, is, maybe it gets some of the Jazz players engaged and involved in the same way that we've seen James Harden engaged in MLS right now. Is a couple other very high-profile NBA players are starting to get very, very engaged with this league. And maybe Smith can help get, I don't know, Donovan Mitchell or Mike Conley engaged with RSL in some way. Anything that increases their visibility is a good thing.
Yeah, both.
No matter how you do it.
Both would be really good. All right, we've got to get you out at 10:30, so you're going to have to let everybody know on Twitter what you're grilling this weekend.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Have you been outside?
Staying indoors.
That's miserable. You're going to cook anything special at least.
Yeah, I'll let y'all know. I'll probably be on Sunday. I've got a bunch of Hawk stuff this weekend, but I'm not going outside if I don't have to.
Yeah, I don't blame you a bit. Thanks for hanging out, Mike. We'll catch up soon.
All right, see you guys.
Be good.
Mike Conti 929 for all of your Conti kitchen cooking updates, because they are very good to follow. I might have to create a Conti kitchen blog or something. Lots of stuff to kind of update before we wrap today. If you guys have any questions about anything we've talked about so far, you can tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. I know we've got a few we need to hit. You can also throw them into the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/Soccer Down Here. Phoenix Rising are doing a new stadium. Theirs has been one of the modular stadiums that you could move and put up in different places. So they're moving it to a new place, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It is. They are going on to, I believe, one of the Indian reservation properties.
Okay. They think it's going to be a better spot for whatever. That's the value of doing that kind of a stadium. It's less, on the ground. We'll see if it works for them. They have talked about MLS in the past. MLS has said, and they said it again with the reports about the NBA looking to expand to soften the blow of the pandemic a little bit with big expansion fees coming in. MLS said that they are not going to do that right now. They're not completely ruling it out, but they want to get to 30 and stick with 30. So Phoenix would be kind of pushed to the side a little bit. So right now, kind of moving the modular stadium around and finding the right spot, it makes sense. I get it. Sean, it is not going to be a 3-hour show day. I can tell you that right now.
No.
My throat will not hold up for another two or an hour and a half. It will not. I'm doing my best not to cough on the mic, so I'm trying. Silly season updates. Newcastle. Steve Bruce believed to be keen to get at least one or some of 3 Manchester United players on loan. Brandon Williams, 20-year-old left back. Phil Jones, 28-year-old defender, or 28-year-old midfielder Jesse Lingard. He has reportedly spoken at length with Manchester United, where he formerly played, about bringing them in on loan. I like Williams a lot. I mean, Jones and Lingard are good players. Lingard could thrive in the right situation. I don't know if playing for Steve Bruce is that, but Brandon Williams I do like. He just hasn't had the ability to play. He hasn't had the time to play, so he needs to play. You can loan him out. Good. If that means you got to send Jones or Lingard there too, okay. It would help Newcastle and give them a little more talent. Lionel Messi update. Reportedly, Leo has told Neymar at PSG, probably through their WhatsApp group, that he is planning to leave Barcelona in the summer to join PSG. The Star has reported this, so take that with a gigantic grain of salt. I don't know if they have access to the WhatsApp group. Of course, Manchester City has also said they are staying up on the information, and they will keep everybody posted. Manchester City is trying to get a player who has been described as the mini Messi, because every young Argentine player who is small and likes to dribble is compared to Leo. Dario Sarmiento. He is a 17-year-old winger who is already playing for Estudiantes in the first division in Argentina. Very, very big talent. He's been linked to City Football Group before. TalkSport has this most recent one that City are close to signing him. We'll see what that looks like. Do they sign him now, keep him at Estudiantes for another 6 months? Do they go ahead and bring him in, loan him out to one of their other teams? We'll see what happens. Sergio Romero, Manchester United. Remember him? He's still under contract.
Like their ninth goalkeeper.
He was given time off by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because he's not needed at the moment, but he's still under contract. He's believed to be in Argentina. He's expected to return to the club next week. Discussions over his future continue. He's been there for 5.5 years. He was signed by Louis van Gaal in 2015. Contract comes up at the end of the summer. Believed that the club have an extension or an option to extend that. He has been linked with a move to Inter Miami. We'll see if that gets done. He last played for Manchester United in their Europa League quarterfinal win over Copenhagen last season, a long time ago. Player linked to the Vancouver Whitecaps, Chiquinho. He is a winger at Benfica, 25 years old, central attacking midfielder. He's only played 4 times for Benfica this year. They bought him for about $6 million in January of 19. He's valued at $8.8 million by Transfermarkt. I didn't expect to see Vancouver's name linked to players like that. That's a good sign. Benfica is a club who's been linked with a lot of different potential moves, and this would feel like one you'd be trying to make. A player who's not playing consistently, that they spent a decent bit of money on, that there is still an ability to recoup some of that. You got to do those kind of moves right now. You got to try to make some of these deals good, and if it means getting just your money back, great. If it means getting even a little bit less than that, great. He's not playing. He's surplus to your requirements. You got to make these kinds of moves. One player we've mentioned before that you got to keep an eye on for a lot of different clubs right now is Mohamed Simakan. He is at Strasbourg. He's been linked to Liverpool at one point. Milan has raised their offer, according to Marco Conterio of Tuttomercato Web, to $18 million plus bonus for Simakan to get him now. RB Leipzig are reportedly matching what Milan has done. They want to keep him on loan at Strasbourg until the summer, bringing him in when Upamecano leaves, which will leave in the summer. He's a 20-year-old center back, very highly rated. Interesting kind of offers back and forth here on how this gets done. I know Liverpool's been looking at him, but it sounds like they're not going to get involved in the bidding. If Leipzig is going to match the bid and let him stay the rest of the season, that might be hard for Strasbourg to turn down. And it's smart succession planning with Upamecano being sold in the summer. Christian Eriksen. He's been linked to everybody. Now, a return to Tottenham has been linked with Christian Eriksen because he was linked to PSG, but now the talk about Dele Alli going to PSG is heating up. So some are saying, well, if that happens, then Jose Mourinho would want to bring Christian Eriksen back to Tottenham. But he's on a pretty big salary, and that's slowing everything down, reportedly. So Spurs would be interested in bringing him back on loan until the end of the season, but he makes €7.5 million a year, and they don't want to pay that. So what does that look like? Inter have not received official requests for Christian Eriksen yet, according to reports. Sky Sport Italia with all of that. Papu Gomez, another player who's been linked with a move to MLS, wants to stay in Italy. This is continuing to drag out, according to Sky Sport Italia. Torino and Fiorentina have the money, but he doesn't want to go there. He's not going to stay at Atalanta because of the relationship with Gianpiero Gasperini, the manager. They don't want to sell him on the cheap. They want to sell him because they want to get him out of there, but they don't want to sell him on the cheap to their rivals in Serie A. They would sell him for €10 million to a foreign club or to a mid-table Serie A side. But he doesn't want to go to Fiorentina or Torino. So €10 million to get Papu Gomez, 32. Would Cincinnati be able to woo him? I don't know. They've been linked to him. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder if Al Nasser or somebody like that comes back into the mix because they were after him before. They were after him before Pity Martinez. They were after him after Pity Martinez. So do they come back in with a lot more than €10 million? I don't know. And a former MLS player on the move, Gary Mackay-Steven, who was at New York City, thought he was going to go to Aberdeen at one point, but Aberdeen has said no one's coming in due to their financial situation. So it looks like he will be going to Hearts in the second division in Scotland, who's trying to get promoted. A 2.5-year deal is on offer, according to Sky Sports' Anthony Joseph. All right, what do we have on the Twitters as we start to wrap up?
Nathan Pugh, he says, this just in.
Yes.
Diogo Jota is in fact healthy and will play today just so he can be injured again.
That sounds about right. Play him 88 minutes. Do it.
Yes. Rich Ransom, speaking to a Union fan yesterday about the Aronson and McKenzie transfers and said they understood the moves, but said the Union should have still tried to hold on to them as this was the window to win the title. Question from Rich. Mm-hmm. Should a team hold on to a player to win games and lose a good deal?
No. You can't. You can in the summer window, and I know this is hard for MLS teams because that's when a lot of deals get done. You can't before a season. You can make that decision differently if you are in the summer, and it sounds like they did when it came to McKenzie especially. McKenzie, $2 million was on the table from Celtic, I believe, in the summer, and they decided not to take it. That was the right decision because they did get a supporter shield out of it. I know it's not the same kind of supporter shield as you would normally get, and even that is not what it was a few years ago, but still, they got a trophy. They have not had a trophy. I don't think you could have sacrificed potentially getting the deal done now to hold on to him for another year. Now, you have to make sure you're covered, and it sounds like they are, and it sounds like they're also close to getting a left-sided center back to replace him. That was something Ernst Tanner said yesterday. So if you have to be prepared for these, and this is where MLS teams really screwed up in the past, is you'd get these offers that were really good offers. The player wanted to take it. Everybody wanted the deal to get done except for the club because they were not prepared to replace the player. You have to be able to replace the player from your players that are coming through your academy. You have to develop your replacements, and if you can't, then you have to have your potential replacements ready to go. Like we talked about with RB Leipzig. RB Leipzig knows that Upamecano is going to go in the summer. You can't hold on to him for another year. Okay. You sell him in the summer. What are you going to do now to prepare for that? You're going to look at another player, a 20-year-old center back who would be the next in line. All right, let's create the line. Let's get it done so you can get that done. Those are the things you have to do. It's just part of the game. And most clubs, with a very small number of exceptions in the world, have to think that way. Maybe your Real Madrids don't have to think that way. Maybe your PSGs don't have to think that way. Maybe your Manchester Cities don't have to think that way because they can just spend. They can just say, yes, we can sell this player. Okay, cool. Now we've got a whole boatload of money to go spend. Let's go spend it. Everybody else has to have a plan on this. And when you develop a talent that you know will be sold eventually, you have to be prepared to replace them. So Philadelphia has to do the same, and it sounds like they're absolutely prepared. Ernst Tanner is a very good sporting director.
Tafka awarded me a score of pi this morning.
It's not good. I'm assuming that's out of 10.
3.14159 repeating.
It's a lot, yes.
Lower than you want, but take comfort that your score is always increasing. Swickster says the time on the training pitch shows this morning. Improved, but more in-game minutes are needed to get back to form.
Yeah, that feels about right. You tried some things. I do like the creativity, but they didn't work.
Chris Hutchison was wondering if the square root of 11 could be far behind for a grade.
It's not good.
No. Swickster back in, and he says, I have no doubt that if MLS did not have the salary cap, and this is a Tito Villalba thought, no doubt that if MLS did not have the salary cap, Tito would easily be brought back as an insurance player and possibly second striker when needed. It does become clear how little quality depth the salary cap can allow at times.
I would have doubt that he would, just because of the cost. Because, I mean, even though the fans are not happy with him at Libertad, they just spent at least $4 million for him a year ago. They're not going to let him walk for free. So would you pay that much for somebody in that role? You wouldn't. Even without a cap, I don't think you would right now. Just because he said he'd go back, you wouldn't do that yet. At the end of his deal, if he's playing and he's healthy and he's showing, then maybe we're having a different conversation. But you wouldn't spend that right now to bring him back after the last 2 years he's had. Everything can change. I don't know where Libertad is financially. I don't know if they would take a cut rate deal. I mean, it'd look horrible for them, and they'd have to try to justify that to their fans, which would be hard because their fans are furious about the deal to begin with. You can throw it all on that former manager, Diaz, who was the one who pushed for Villalba to come in, and he's the one who's taken a lot of the blame, and he's like 2 managers ago now at this point at Libertad. So I disagree with Swickster just in the case of what it would cost to get him right now. Even if you could as a backup and you didn't have cap restrictions, it's still a big cost for a backup because I would expect Libertad would at least want their money back.
Yeah. Rich Ransom back in. He says, games MLS needs to make for 2021.
Yes.
Austin FC at Columbus on the day the Crew raised the championship banner.
Love it. Do it. Salty.
2, Crew visit Austin on the day Austin opens their stadium.
Do it. Love it.
3, Philadelphia Union visit Atlanta United, and the game is at, in all caps, Atlanta Motor Speedway. Book it.
No, Rich Ransom. No, that's not good. I don't think there's anywhere you could put a soccer pitch anywhere near the
front
seating area. Yeah, I don't think that would work.
I mean, and what you would
it's
have
not like
to do,
Bristol. Bristol worked because of the way Bristol's laid out. Like Atlanta wouldn't work that way.
No, because if you tried to do it on the front stretch at the flag stand at Atlanta Motor Speedway, I don't think I don't know if there's enough room that's just straight grass. You'd have to lay grass over the flag stand area as you're coming out of turn 4 and into turn 1. I don't know if there's enough room there.
No, I just don't think it would work. What else we got on Twitter?
Dan Graham suggesting David Wagner for DC coach.
I don't think he would take it. If Armas and Pineda have turned it down, I don't think Wagner would take it. I don't think Wagner's interested in coming to work in the United States. He doesn't have... I mean, he is American, and he played for the U.S. national team, but he didn't grow up here. So, I mean, he doesn't have a pull here. So I think he wants to probably work in Germany, and we'll wait on the next opportunity to do so. It's funny you mention him. Schalke is in an interesting situation this weekend. They could equal the record winless run of 31 matches this weekend. Derby has the longest winless run in the Premier League of 32. I did not know this, and I think the BBC had an article about this club. I'll have to read if you like the soccer history. Tasmania Berlin.
Yep.
They have a whole bunch of records for more than 50 years about being terrible, basically. They have the fewest number of wins, the lowest number of points, 10 when you adjust it to the current system of 3 points for a win. They won 2 games in a season. They lost 28 games in a Bundesliga season. Those are all records that have stood for more than 50 years. Their owner says that reputation is part of the club's identity. Okay.
Yep.
So Schalke is getting into that world where they could be the worst Bundesliga team in a season of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. Agence France Press had an article out, and what they have Tasmania Berlin catapulted up from the regional leagues as last-minute replacements after Hertha Berlin were thrown out for breaking salary rules. Tasmania scored only 15. Tasmania scored only 15 goals.
When was this?
65-66.
There you go. Thank you.
Scored only 15 goals, conceded a league record 108, relegated in last place, never to return, won their first game in front of 80,000 at Berlin's Olympic Stadium.
Oh, wow.
Heavy defeat saw interest dwindle, and just over 800 spectators turned up to one home game. Quoting Hans-Gunther Becker, who captained the club in 65-66, he said, "It was a suicide mission. We also had 800 spectators for one game, a record that will never happen again, unless you include the coronavirus era, but there's no need to talk about that." The 82-year-old still remembers the stress of being branded the league's worst side. He has sympathy for Schalke. "I would really like it if Schalke players find it in their hearts to say, let's leave the record to Tasmania." That's on Yahoo Sport.
They might not have a choice. They might just keep getting beat. They host Hoffenheim tomorrow morning at 9:30. Big match today in Germany. It is the match of the day worldwide. Borussia Mönchengladbach is playing Bayern Munich. Mönchengladbach is hosting it. Right now in the table, Bayern is leading by 2 points over RB Leipzig. Mönchengladbach is 7th on 21. They are 5 wins, 3 losses, 6 draws on the season. Bayern's lost 1 time out of 14. Mönchengladbach has got some interesting numbers if you look at the juice boxes. They have some interesting numbers attached to them, and they are at home. I don't know how you feel about that. They are plus 375 to win. The draw is plus 375, and Bayern is a minus 175.
Yep. So, and the composite, you can get Borussia Mönchengladbach as high as plus 400, and Bayern Munich slightly lesser than that. So the range is very, very interesting at 230. You can get them as high. You can get Borussia Mönchengladbach as high as plus 434. And you can get Bayern as low as minus 160. So there's a big range around there. Actually, I take it back. You can get them as high as plus 450, Borussia Mönchengladbach. So, yeah, maybe if you got some juice boxes.
I'll throw one on the draw. If I'm going to get crazy with it, I'll throw one on the draw there. I don't think Bayern loses.
Yeah.
Big Sam's made a signing. It's crazy. Robert Snodgrass is joining West Brom on an 18-month contract. Big Sam's first signing at West Brom.
I thought you were going to say he signed himself to a sandwich for lunch.
Oh, I'm
with
sure
gravy.
I'm sure he did that. Lots of gravy. He was looking at Jack Wilshere, and reportedly, and keep this in mind for MLS teams who have been linked with Jack Wilshere, reportedly Wilshere is looking for $1 million, I guess, a year. There would not be a transfer fee, so, I mean, you could make him as a TAM player in Major League Soccer for that. Maybe.
I mean, we ran through that list of injuries with Jack Wilshere a couple weeks ago.
It's a whole lot.
Yeah. Ricky Ricardo lets us know, he linked to the article from Sports Business Journal and Mark Burns. Sources have confirmed MLS is providing clubs a make-good sponsorship opportunity heading into the season by letting them place a brand on the left sleeve of player jerseys.
Let them put sponsors on the shorts again. Let them put sponsors wherever they need to put sponsors. Like the NHL, sell the conference names. I don't care. Like, make the money back. I honestly don't care, and I know some people got really in their feelings about that with the NHL. So, you can't sell tickets right now. If that's going to help, keep the doors open and make things work, then do it. I don't care. If you put an extra sponsor on the sleeve or on the back of the shirt or on the back of the shorts, go for it. Have fun. Mm-hmm. Do it. Sell it.
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
FIFA has today confirmed it will trial additional permanent substitutions for cases of actual or suspected concussion at the Club World Cup, which will take place in Qatar from 1 to 11 February, thus becoming the first international competition to test the procedure.
Yeah, it's the official trial process that was already approved. They just confirmed that it will be part of that tournament. We'll see who else adds it and when they add it and how they get this done. Nantes manager Raymond Domenech, remember, who was brought in with the clown music by the supporters outside when they were training. He said a clown thing, so he's living up to it. They were talking about how Nantes did not get Jean Lucas on loan from Lyon. He went to Brest instead, and this is the quote attributed to Raymond Domenech from Get French Football Now. He is not here. He is at Brest. I would have liked to sign Maradona, but he is dead. Life is like that. Yeah. What would be the French equivalent of plonker? I don't know what it would be.
Oh, that's a good question.
If anybody can help us with the French equivalent of plonker, please let us know.
What's a plonker?
Yeah, that's what he said. I was very ticked off. That's just stupid. Alan Pulido's a little ticked off. He filed a claim against Chivas for John's looking at things and his jaw's dropping. You probably shouldn't repeat that then.
No, I'm not.
Alan Pulido filed a claim against Chivas for a debt related to his transfer to Sporting Kansas City. I'm guessing that he was probably owed a percentage of the transfer fee and has not received that. Chivas issued a press release saying that the claim is already in the hands of the Conciliation and Dispute Resolution Commission of the Mexican Soccer Federation. Liga MX starts tonight.
Yeah, that's correct.
Who's playing tonight?
It is a couple of matches tonight. They spread them out over the weekend.
Yes.
And you have 3 matches tonight, 3 tomorrow, and 2 on Sunday and 1 for late night Monday night football. Tonight it is at 8:30. 8:30 Puebla and Chivas. Puebla is a plus 179, Chivas a plus 164, your draw is a plus 206. 10:06 start tonight, Tijuana and Pumas. Tijuana is a minus 104, Pumas is a plus 280, and your draw is a plus 245. Your late kick is at 10:30. Mazatlan hosting Necaxa. Mazatlan even money at a plus 100, Necaxa is a plus 270, and your draw is a plus 240.
And TV, Puebla Chivas is on 2DN. Tijuana Pumas is on Fox Sports 2 in English and on Fox Deportes in Spanish. And Mazatlan and Necaxa is on 2DN. And I think they've got English language calls on 2DN.com or 2DN Extra. I think Fubo TV has the 2DN Extra channels. So to keep up with Liga MX, those are your games tonight. You've also got other games today. We mentioned Mönchengladbach and Bayern. Villa Liverpool with FA Cup is on ESPN Plus at 2:45. Wolves and Crystal Palace is on ESPN Plus at 2:45. Celta de Vigo trying to bounce back from losing to the party island of Ibiza in the Copa del Rey. They host Villarreal on BN Sport and Fanatis at 3 o'clock. Porto plays in Portugal as well at 4 o'clock if you're looking for games to watch. You've got FA Cup right now late. Northeast United and Hyderabad. Or no, that's not FA Cup. What is that?
That's India.
That's India. Sorry, India. It could be FA Cup when you look at it. Yeah. Northeast United 2-2 in Hyderabad. I need to watch some Indian football, I guess.
Yes.
Madness.
Well, and I learned a lesson when it comes to the ISL. When you want to purchase gear, you've got to really go into the X's for it to fit the US XLs. I mean, you've got to go to like 4X for it to be like an extra large like here in the States. I learned that the hard way.
Okay.
Tom Bogert, news from Nashville SC. Colombian club Independiente is announcing the signing of Nashville SC center back Miguel Nazarit. Source says the deal is a 1-year loan waiting on final paperwork. Colombian Youth International didn't make his MLS debut behind Zimmerman and Romney last year, so Nazarit goes back to Independiente in Colombia.
Is that Santa Fe? Independiente Santa Fe?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Thomas Jewin, I'll get you sorted out on the Discord. Just shoot me a message, and we'll figure it out. The automated things are not always working like they should, I'm learning. So send me a message, and we'll get you sorted. Marcelo Bielsa leads in FA Cup. There's been some questions about what their lineup would look like, how many reserve players you would see. He, speaking to the media today, said that the FA Cup is the essence of English football. He loved going to lower league games when he could before COVID. He said, it's easy to love one of the top 5 teams in the world. It's a lot more difficult to love a team in the bottom 5 in League One. It's kind of cool. Bielsa's crazy. I like him. He's fun. El Loco.
Yes. Nathan Pugh, are y'all ever going to prop up the Mbappe LeBron rumors for Liverpool? Come on, feed the silly season.
Not happening. It's craziness. No, we're not. We do have standards around here, Nathan, so we try to uphold those as best we can sometimes.
And Rich comes back in and he says the idea to have the Union and Atlanta United at AMS came from Daytona Soccer Fest, which was supposed to be at Daytona International Speedway. Soccer on the grass front infield was the plan at DIS for Soccer Fest.
I'm not a NASCAR guy, but isn't the layout a little different? Like, wouldn't it work better at Daytona? I just can't see it working at Atlanta. It's been over a decade since I've been in that place, so I couldn't tell you.
I think that there's a larger grass infield at Daytona than there is at AMS. I think that you could fit a soccer pitch on that infield right there on the front stretch at Daytona, whereas I think that you wouldn't have enough space to do it at AMS.
Yeah. Sport Witness had an update on Moises Caicedo, but it is the same thing that we talked about at the beginning of the show from Jorge Pazmiño. West Ham with a bid that would include 70% of the transfer rights. Independiente del Valle would keep 30%. Don't know how much the bid is for. There's other reports, and Sport Witness is coming into this a little late, and they're very confused, like a lot of people trying to figure this out. So it is very confusing. I have not seen anything else on this. I will double check to see if we get anything else before we wrap. I think the West Ham offer is starting to make the rounds in English language social media. Mataflow might have an update for us. Milan could be jumping into this. I'm seeing more Milan than I was before. The Everton stuff I'm not quite buying as much because of the sourcing.
Yeah.
Just because it's coming from people who are very low on the follower count,
Right.
which would make me question them a little bit. It doesn't mean they're wrong, but it doesn't give you quite as much credibility. I'm seeing Manchester United still linked, but unless something's changed since Monday, they had not made an offer before Monday. Have they now? That's a little hard to follow. We'll see if Mataflow is able to find anything more before we wrap. Sean says, does this mean Atlanta United's out of the running? It doesn't, but it doesn't look great because it looks like there's going to be more teams that are going to bid this up. And it sounds like the player wants to go to Europe. And he's a player who should go to Europe and play in Europe, like now. The question would have been, do European clubs see him as that? I think he's ready. Do they? If they don't, then he should come here because he would come here and play. If they do, and he would go into a West Ham and play in the Premier League, then that's where he should go.
Yeah.
If Milan came in with an offer and he was going to play, and I think Nick Alifi's still on the Twitch pitch. Nick, what is Milan's situation at holding midfield, 6'8", kind of midfield position? Would he step in and play? Mataflow kind of reiterates some of this too, and this has been something that he's reminded us of. The club will always try to look out for what's best for the player. They are looking big picture as well for their brand. If the player can go to Europe in the right situation, they want to get him to Europe. And if the player wants to go to Europe and he's going to go play, that's where he's going to go. Milan is looking to hijack the move now. There has not been an offer yet, so again, we're back in that world where we were with Manchester United. So stay tuned. I think it's very unlikely he comes here. I know it's a move that got everybody excited, and it should because he's a big player. But like we said at the very beginning with Roger Gonzalez, like, he's not the number one source here on things happening. And he could have been right. He could have been right that they put in that bid. They could have put in the bid. It probably makes sense they put in the bid. But that doesn't mean you win the bid. And if the player wants to go to Europe and other bids have come in, and now if Milan is chasing it, it all makes sense. Mataflow's reading Everton with an $8 million offer for 80% of the rights. Player doesn't want to go to MLS.
Yeah,
So-
that was... saw that with someone who's tied to Tutu Mercato Web.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking it. It's just not one of their top guys.
Right.
So I'm a little more skeptical of the Everton one. The West Ham one I have more belief in because of the sourcing. The Milan one is very interesting, but I don't know if it is accurate yet. And when it comes to Atlanta, I think they kind of have to wait. From what I had heard and what I had seen insinuated, the Atlanta straight-up cash offer is the biggest. Because I think it has to be to get the deal done. I would assume the salary offer would probably be bigger too. But if the player wants to make the move to Europe, then the club is going to try to get him to Europe, and they will make that move. Mataflow says, Everton and West Ham seem legit. Milan and Manchester United seem like speculation. The Atlanta proposal seems like a backup. I think Atlanta made a bid. I think where we're at right now, West Ham has made a bid. Mataflow thinks that Everton has made a bid. That has been reported that he has made a bid. I was a little more skeptical of that one, but I'll go with Mataflow on that. Milan and Manchester United have not been reported as having made a bid from reputable sources. No, I don't think anybody said Milan has made a bid yet. Manchester United, I have seen bids attached to them, but I'm not buying it because of what we heard previously. Atlanta United allegedly made a bid, and I think that's fair assumption. But we'll have to see which bid they go with, and we'll have to see what bid the player and the club wants to do. I think that's a fair representation of everything.
Yeah, no, I think. Yeah.
I don't know, and Sean asked about Newcastle. I don't know if Newcastle was all that involved. I know they were mentioned at one point of it. And Modiflow says the MLS offer would be the backup if the European offers aren't good enough or fall through, which can happen. So you're still in the mix. You're still there. You still have a seat at the table. You are waiting to see what happens because, look, he's a special talent, and he's going to have to make a decision if it is a Milan or a Manchester United or a West Ham or an Everton. If I go there, do I not play? How does that affect me with the Ecuador national team? If I'm not playing at a bigger club, does that help? I don't think it does. Does it help my development if I go there and I don't play? Or if I get loaned out somewhere? Would it be better for me to go to Atlanta where I would play, where I would be a first-choice player? I'd still play for Ecuador. That wouldn't change. And then I would still have my opportunity to go to a bigger club in a year or 2 years. That's going to be the decision for the player. That's going to be the decision. Modiflow says it feels like MLS's Teddy Roosevelt big stick moment. To a degree, just in that I don't know if you actually can get it done even if you have the biggest stick beating on the table. I don't know if you can necessarily make that happen because the player might be persuaded by the perception, and the club will follow what the player wants to do, I think. So it's a tricky one. MLS is there, and they should be trying to get this deal done. If they don't, it's not a failure. That's where I'm at with it. It's not any kind of a failure if they can't get it done. It doesn't seem likely that they do get it done if these other offers are accurate and materialize. But we'll see. Nick chimes in on the Milan side of things. He doesn't see it happening. They're open to making moves, but wouldn't have them at the front of the line here. So if other clubs are more into it, got it, Modify. I got you. If he comes, it's the big stick moment. Absolutely. If he comes, yeah, MLS should be beating down the door of every reporter worldwide and saying, hey, we got this deal done. Other clubs tried to, and we got it done. They should absolutely make the best of it. And if they don't, it's fine that they made an offer, and it's fine that it is being reported that an offer was made, and it was a really good offer. That's good, too. You're in a no-lose situation here. You'd love to get him. If you can't, it will help you for the next one. It will help you for the next big signings that could happen.
A couple of other things. In the timeline, Dan Graham with a couple of sports business news items. Budweiser UK is covering the beer that will be available for Marine AFC in the third-round cup tie. So they have put a boatload of Budweiser in the stadium for Marine.
But there's no fans.
It's for the guys.
Okay, so they'll get plenty of beer afterwards.
Yes, they're getting plenty of beer afterwards.
Well, that's good.
Because one of the stories after the last round, after the Haven and Waterlooville match, was that the keeper in his kit went to a nearby restaurant just to have some beers after the match was over. Nice. And so Budweiser has the team covered this time, and also news out of Statesboro and Tormenta. Tormenta is partnering with Coca-Cola in South Georgia to help them with their things. They are a new beverage partner, the official beverage partner in a 10-year partnership with South Georgia Tormenta. So very cool stuff with Coke and Tormenta this morning.
Very, very cool. Keep an eye on the matches in Spain. There's a lot of snow already on the ground. There's more coming. A lot of games are in question on if they will happen. I think Real Madrid at Osasuna is one. Atleti's match is in question, along with others. So could get weird with that. We'll be back for a power hour in the morning. If anything happens big time today, we might do a quick drop or something on the Discord. If you are a subscriber to us on Twitch, if you are a subscriber on Patreon and you've not gotten your link to the Discord, please let me know. You can send us an email, soccerdownhere@gmail.com. You can shoot me or any of our Soccer Down Here accounts a message on Twitter, on Facebook. We'll get you squared away. The automated side of things is not as automated as it should be. I'm learning sometimes. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we can fix that easily. If you want in and you're not a subscriber, through Twitch, it's easy. You can actually have a free subscription if you have an Amazon Prime account, which is very cool. You have to go into the gaming section. It's pretty easy when you do a quick search to do that, to activate your free subscription on Twitch. Patreon, it's patreon.com/soccerdownhere, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere to get your subscriptions going there. And you can join us, and we'll get you into the Discord, where we go deep dive into stuff on the Discord, which is actually a lot of fun. Modaflow was worried that he was saying too much about Ecuadorian soccer and all these rumors. No. We've had discussions about the pay scales at clubs in Argentina and clubs in Scotland and what that looks like. And these are all things that are maybe harder to do in the show format, or maybe things that happen from the show and then more questions happen. So that's what the Discord was designed to be, kind of the deeper dive into things and also further the community that you guys have helped build around the show. And we really, really appreciate it. Thanks for spending your time with us today. Thanks for bearing with my sore throat. That I'm glad I didn't cough or spit on anything during the show. That was good. Hopefully it'll be a little bit better tomorrow. We'll see. And we'll be back for a power hour in the morning with a lot of games to talk about tomorrow, as all the leagues are very, very busy, in FA Cup and all the craziness. Thanks for hanging out. Mucha platio.
Mucha platio.